For a long time, the AFC East belonged to New England. Then Tom Brady left and Josh Allen stepped in and took control over this division. Since then, he's been the difference maker, the playmaker, the quarterback everybody else in the AFC East been chasing. But last season, the Patriots bounced back to the Super Bowl. Drake Maye just delivered one of the strongest quarterback seasons inside this division. Hell, inside the NFL. And for the first time in several years, the balance at the top of the AFC East doesn't feel automatic anymore. Is Josh Allen really losing this division to Drake Maye?
Drake? Drake?
Motion left to right, there's nothing there. Now he tries to run, breaks a tackle, dives for the end zone, fumbled the football, left sideline, midfield, 40, 30, 20, 10, touchdown!
Yeah, here we go! Wait, take...
Throws back of the end zone, there's C.D. Lamb!
Unbelievable! Unbelievable!
We're back. You're listening to Football is Money on footballismoney.com. Here's your host. They call me boss.
Welcome back to Football is Money. Appreciate everybody tapping in as we continue working through this division by division quarterback projection series across the NFL, right? We already moved through most of the league, breaking down how each division is evolving at the quarterback position. And now we've come to the AFC East. After this episode, it's only one division left, AFC North. You know what I'm saying? We're going to wrap up the projection series completely and move on to the next thing. And while we're moving through these breakdowns, the $100 giveaway wheel is still building every single day. New names getting added, new entries stacking, and the available spots are starting to disappear. So if you've been watching and haven't locked in your entry yet, man, now's the time to get your name on the wheel while there's still room. But before we start comparing production across this division, we need to understand why this might be the most unstable version of the AFC East we've seen in several seasons. Because this division is changing everywhere, right? Buffalo, they come in with Joe Brady stepping in as the head coach alongside Josh Allen, which means even the most established quarterback situation in this division is now operating inside a new leadership structure, right? In New York, Aaron Glenn enters his second year with the Jets being a head coach, but now he's stepping in with Geno Smith at the quarterback position. And, you know, that looks more like a stabilizing move while the roster continues developing. And, you know, I'm pretty sure they're going to draft a quarterback here in this draft coming up in a couple of weeks or next week, I want to say. Miami had one of the biggest resets of any team in this division. They brought in a new head coach. They brought in a new GM. They moved on from their first round quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and turned the offense over to Malik Willis and reshaped the receiver room around him, right? So that's not a small adjustment. You know, that's a complete offensive identity shift. And then there's New England. Last season, Mike Vrabel and Drake Maye, they was both in year one together, and they reached the Super Bowl immediately. Now entering year two, they're actually the most stable coach-quarterback duo in this division. But even their relationship is still early because right now, across the entire AFC East, There isn't a single team with more than 2 seasons of continuity between its head coach and the starting quarterback. So there's no long-term structural advantage anywhere in the AFC East. Every team is still building something. Every team is still adjusting somewhere. And when every organization in a division is working through leadership changes at the same time, last season's quarterback production becomes even more important to evaluate these things correctly. All right? Which is exactly where we will start. All right, so before we rank quarterbacks inside the AFC East, it's important to separate perception from production. Because records tell one version of the division, quarterback outputs tells another. And once those production profiles are placed side by side, who sits at the top, the middle, and the bottom in the AFC East starts looking less settled than people assume. So let's start with the most difficult situation to evaluate. We're going to go to Miami. Malik Willis, he appeared in just 4 games last season with Green Bay. So this isn't a full season sample, right? But inside those appearances, he completed 30 of 35 passes for 422 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and finished with a 145 passer rating. Now, that's extremely efficient football, even in, limited opportunities. Miami moved on from Tua and handed the position to Malik Willis. This is a large offensive transition. Now, I don't think he's the type of quarterback you can expect to carry an offense immediately, but efficient like that still creates projection value, right? Because the real question now becomes whether that level of control holds once the workload expands. Let's talk about Geno. I know, you know, we know Geno. He finished last season with 3,000 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and an 84 passer rating. The yardage shows, the offense can move the football, but the interception total changes how reliable their production becomes week to week. 17 interceptions, that's basically a pick a game. That's crazy. That makes division control difficult to sustain across the full season. With the Jets, I'm pretty sure they're going to continue their roster transition under a new coaching staff. This looks more like a bridge season quarterback situation versus a long-term shift in this division hierarchy. So, yeah, it's crazy stuff going on out here in the East Side. Now, let's talk about Josh Allen production. He finished last season with 3,600 passing yards, almost 3,700, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 102 passer rating. That is still high-level quarterback production. They're still efficient, still capable of carrying an offense. But Allen's value inside this division never been limited to passing production alone. Even when supporting pieces change, he remains the offensive centerpiece. He creates scoring opportunities with his arm, and he also creates them with his legs. And that combination keeps him in control of games in ways very few quarterbacks can replicate. The only thing that haven't changed yet is the question Buffalo's been chasing for several years: getting over the top when it matters. And last year, statistically, someone else inside this division matched and exceeded his production profile. And that guy is Drake Maye. Finished last season with 4,394 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a 113 passer rating. Those numbers led the AFC East. And I want to say he was runner-up for MVP, if I'm not mistaken, top 2, top 3. And they immediately changed expectations inside the division, like overnight. Because this wasn't just some strong rookie production. It was strong rookie production inside a brand new system that reached the Super Bowl right away. And I know we don't evaluate on Super Bowls, but just this kid coming in and just going all the way to the final game, that means something. But how much do it mean for our ranking? That kind of first season impact forces the division to adjust around a quarterback earlier than expected. Now, the next evaluation point becomes year 2. Does their production grow, or does the division respond differently the second time around? Because if the trajectory continues upward, then the quarterback situation inside the AFC East stops feeling automatic and starts becoming competitive again. Which brings us right back to the main question surrounding this division. Is Josh Allen losing control of the division to Drake Maye?
Nigga, yeah, Drake? Drake?
All right, man, let's keep it moving. So, before we get into the actual quarterback rankings for the AFC East, I want to explain how we evaluate quarterbacks here at Football is Money, because the lens matter. Ranking always depends on what you're ranking for, right? If we were ranking quarterbacks based on legacy, the list might look different. If we're ranking quarterbacks based on playoff wins, the list may look different. If we was ranking based on Super Bowl probability alone, the list would look different. But here, we are ranking quarterbacks based on projection value. Production you can use week to week. Production that translate into fantasy lineups. Production that translate into betting leverage. Because that's where the real advantage shows up across a season. From a fantasy perspective, quarterback value has changed over the last several seasons, right? Elite quarterbacks coming off the board ASAP. Players like Josh Allen now coming off the board in the first few rounds in most drafts. So when you take a quarterback like that early, you're not just selecting talent. You are making a roster construction decision, because every early quarterback selection means that you are passing on elite skill position depth somewhere else. All right. And that changes how your team has to be built the rest of the way. So the real question becomes, do you invest early at quarterback, or do you load up at running back and wide receiver first and come back later for somebody like Drake Maye, or maybe even a late upside shot on somebody like Malik Willis? There isn't one universal strategy that works for everybody. But there is one rule that always applies. You need to know your plan before your draft starts. And if you're still building your approach heading into the season, make sure you check out footballismoney.com. That's where you can join the training league and the second annual Football is Money League. Everything you need to get signed up is available there, footballismoney.com. And from a betting side, quarterback evaluation works a little differently, right? One of the biggest mistakes people make when betting football is thinking that they always have to bet on what a quarterback will do. Sometimes the edge comes from betting what a quarterback won't do. Passing yard unders, touchdown unders, turnover props, interception, fumbles, stuff like that. There's just as much value in understanding inconsistency as there is in predicting production. And if you're getting your account set up before the season, you can access the Bovada sign-up link at footballismoney.com and claim your bonus before kickoff starts stacking again. And before we move on into these rankings, man, remember, the $100 giveaway wheel is still active. If your name appears in red, that means there's still a step missing. You got to tune in, man. It's not going to be easy. I'm not making it easy so, you can just skim through and potentially win. You got to be tapped in. You got to be locked in. If your name is green, that means that your entry is verified. All right. If your name shows up gold, that means you earned a bonus entry from a strong football take. All right. And if you see your name in blue, that's a community selected entry from one of the most engaged comments across the episode. So if you want extra spots on the wheel, keep dropping football takes as we move through this projection series, okay? Because every episode gives you another chance to improve your odds. And now that the projection lens is clear, that the fantasy strategy is clear, and the betting framework is clear as well, let's set the rankings. All right, at number 4, man, got Geno Smith. All right, first, I want to say this clearly, right? Geno Smith's career story deserves some respect. He stayed in the league. He kept working. He waited for another opportunity, and he got one. And when that opportunity came in, at Seattle a few years ago, he delivered a strong season that helped extend his starting window in this league. But when we're talking about projecting quarterback control inside any division, especially through a fantasy and a betting lens, consistency week to week becomes the deciding factor. And right now, Geno isn't a quarterback you can reliably project to produce strong results every week. He can give you matchup-based value. He can give you spot start fantasy weeks. He can give you individual performances where the offense moves well, but across a full season inside a division with 2 high-ceiling quarterbacks at the top and 1 upside development profile underneath them, he lands at number 4, especially with the Jets still clearly building towards their long-term quarterback future. All right. Now, coming in at number 3, we got Malik Willis. So I understand this might surprise some people because, Willis, he haven't been a full-time starter yet at all. But projection isn't always about the resume. Sometimes projection is about traits, right? Sometimes projection is about a player's ceiling. And what we saw from Willis last season in Green Bay, even in limited action, it showed efficiency, control, and athletic upside. So, this is still a developing situation in Miami. They've reset the quarterback position. They've reset parts of the offense around him. And he's stepping into an environment that's still forming its identity. But the physical ability is there. The movement ability is there. And the upside weeks are there as well. And from a fantasy standpoint, especially, man, quarterbacks with mobility, they always create additional scoring pathways. So while he's still proving himself as a full-time starter, there's enough projection value there to place him ahead of Geno Smith entering this season. We going for the number 2 spot. Let's go. Who we got? We got Drake Maye. Drake Maye coming in at number 2.
Yeah, Drake? Drake?
All right, let me say this clearly before I say anything else, man. Look, Drake Maye is not taking the number 1 spot in this division away from Josh Allen right now. Not yet. But what he did last season absolutely changed the conversation. Rookie quarterback, new system, new head coach. Come on, Super Bowl, and they reached the Super Bowl. Hey, that's one time you can be like, hey, it might be something here. Sometimes you can catch lightning in the bottle, right? And that speaks volumes about trajectory. He showed the ability to push the football down the field. He showed composure inside the structure. He showed athletic ability outside the structure, right? And statistically, he led this division last season, right? And the only question entering this year is what year 2 looks like for Drake Maye. Does the production continue rising, or does the division adjust to him after getting a full year of tape on him. Because if his trajectory continues upward, this conversation gets very tight, very quick. But entering this season, he still comes in at number two. Number two, we have Drake Maye.
Drake?
All right. And number one, we got Josh Allen, man. You know, and the reason Josh Allen stays at the top of this division is simple. He doesn't just operate inside the offense. He is the offense. And there's a difference between quarterbacks who succeed inside systems and quarterbacks who drive systems. Josh Allen drives the system. Vroom, vroom. Everything runs through him. Everything depends on him. He creates scoring opportunity with both his legs and his arm all the time. And this is the part that separates Josh Allen from most quarterbacks in fantasy and betting projection. Last season alone, he finished with 14 rushing touchdowns, 579 rushing yards, leading all quarterbacks in rushing scores. And I know Jalen Hurts likes to run, and he gets rushing touchdowns as well. Jalen Hurts likes to do butt stuff at the goal line. They are not the same, all right? There's 3 straight seasons with at least 10 rushing touchdowns, and he reached 10 rushing touchdowns in just his first 10 games of the season, right? So that kind of goal line usage changes everything about how you project him from week to week. Because now you're not just betting on passing production, you're betting on a quarterback who adds scoring value in multiple ways every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's not perfect every week, but reliable across most weeks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, matters a lot in fantasy. It matters in betting. And that matters when projecting control of a division. He's the rare quarterback who can give you 3 touchdowns in the air and then turn around and give you 3 on the ground. You know, that's why he stays at number 1. Because even with Drake Maye rising quickly,
Drake?
Josh Allen is still the quarterback most capable of carrying his team regardless of supporting structure. And until someone proves that they can do that at the same level, this division still runs through Josh. Oh my Josh. So heading into this season, the AFC East quarterback rankings look like this. Number 1, Josh Allen. Number 2,
Drake? Drake?
Number 3, Malik Willis. Number 4, Geno Smith. And the real question now isn't whether Drake Maye belongs in a conversation. It's whether this becomes a 2-quarterback race for control of the division moving forward. All right? Straight up. So that's going to do it for this episode of Football is Money. And I just want to say, man, I appreciate every single one of you for tapping in, because you could have been anywhere. You could have watched anything, but you chose to spend your time right here with Football is Money. And that never goes unnoticed. You understand me? I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to play fantasy football with us this season, head over to footballismoney.com and get signed up for the leagues while spots still are open. If you're getting ready for the season from the betting side, you can also access our sportsbook partner, Bovada, through the site and claim your sign-up bonus before kickoff starts again. And don't forget the $100 giveaway is still popping right now. So whether this is your first episode or your 52nd episode you're watching, make sure you understand how to get your name on that wheel, because we're giving away real money every month. You understand me? So get your entry locked in, my friend. And again, I appreciate everybody for watching, man. I'm your host. They call me Boss. This is Football is Money, and we are.
That's a wrap. Thanks for listening to Football is Money. Find every episode and more at footballismoney.com.